Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have somebody who is trying to find our place, and so Christine is, and so Ruth went out to help her, and so we'll take a little moment to really get going. And it's so nice to see all of you. It's wonderful to have you here this morning. I'm excited to have our wonderful Reverend Janet Childs, Dr. Reverend Janet Childs, be in charge of the program today. And before we start with anything else, we'd like to start out with a prayer. But I'd like for us to include the two people that are outside right now in the prayer. So why don't we start out instead with a song from Janet? Janet, would that be okay with you?
Absolutely. You tell me what to do, Dottie. I'll do it.
Hey, I like the sound of that. Okay. Well, let's have a song.
Okay. And what I'm going to do, my friends, is ring a bell. And this is a bell that was given to me by my mother. And it reminds me of the Liberty Bell. And Memorial Day is a lot about maintaining and keeping our liberty. So this bell is to get us centered and in this space and, with each other. And just take a nice deep breath and just let the bell reach you. And just with every breath, feel yourself getting here. Feel yourself being present for and with each other in this incredible circle. And I'm going to light our candle today. And this candle is a symbol of your light and is a symbol of the love in this community and the honoring that we do, particularly on this day as we are in Memorial Day weekend. It's like those that we honor with the sharing of our light and with our gratitude. Put that right over there. Let me get my guitar. And we just invite you to go to a beautiful place. And just stretch your body, your neck, your arms, your shoulders. And just allow yourself to be here. We are so fortunate to be together, to be able to freely communicate and share our wisdom with each other. And so just give yourself that opportunity to feel and know that you are enough. That you create an energy in the world that is exactly what we need. We are strong and we are gentle and we honor those that have gone before us in memory. In our hearts forever, and we take this time with every breath to bring our freedom home. Oh, step upon the threshold of our life, and we dream the sweet liberty that calls us to bring ourselves and bring each other into the circle of freedom and love. And we remember you, oh, our heroes. We remember you, and it brings us home to know we remember you. And you live forever in our hearts. We remember you. And you live forever in our lives. Oh, in our lives. And we hold you in the highest honor. And you have helped us be free. And it's you and me. And every moment of every day, we light and show the way back to the chambers of our heart, where you live forever. You are alive, and we honor you. You are alive, and we hold you forever, ever in our hearts. Ooh, forever in our hearts. Just take a breath and get yourself here and realize that this weekend of remembrance is about claiming the memories and keeping those beautiful people alive in our hearts, in our world. And we can call upon that energy.
Oh, thank you so very much. And everybody just take a nice deep breath. Just breathe in energy from the Center for Creative Living, and let it just sit around you for this entire session today, and enjoy it. We're here to have you enjoy yourself and your partner or your neighbor or anybody you know today. If we're looking for a time that we're honoring for being vicious, but we want to turn that around and change it to a time of recovery. And so that's what I know Janet's going to be talking about, that plus other things. But before we get into our talking, I'd like to know if there's any birthdays. Yeah, right. Oh, yes.
Yay.
Okay, see, we have a birthday, and we found our beads.
Yay!
You need to come get a pair of beads. And as she does this, we can sing, "This is your birthday song.
It's a very long.
Yay!
Let's do it together this
Let's
time.
do it together. Okay.
This is your birthday song. It is very long.
Welcome. So thank Thank you all for being here. One of the things, yes.
Dottie, I just wanted to say before I forget, because my memory is short, our speaker series is going to be wonderful.
Okay.
This coming June 10th from 6 to 8 p.m., and we'll get the information out, but we're doing a whole thing on affirming the spiritual dimensions of our LGBTQIA community.
Well, great.
4 speakers. I'm so excited. So I'll give you all the information about them. All of them have been community activists and have been wonderful things, for our community, and they're going to share their spiritual journey
Can I ask a
of
question?
claiming their identity.
Can I ask a question, please? What is the I for?
Intersex.
Okay, thank you.
Intersex. Thank you. And I want to thank my beautiful, I don't know if Lauren is there yet, but she helped me a great deal. So
Yes.
Lauren is out of town.
Yeah, she's out of
Yeah,
town
camping
camping.
trip.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
She's having a good
That's
weekend.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And I invite you all to come because it speaks to all of us claiming who we are. That's what it's going to be about. And we're doing it in June to honor, Pride Month. But I mean, this is for all of us. So I encourage all of you to come.
Good. Sounds great.
Okay,
Good.
so Dottie's still talking?
Dottie's still talking? Yeah, I'm still talking. I want to take this opportunity to thank our wonderful Reverend Janet. This is such an inspiring time for her with Memorial Day. She went to the New York when the towers fell. She was there giving support for the people. She has been helping with the United Workers, not the United Workers, what's the name? VTA. And so she's helping with so many things and people going through problems that it's nice to have her here today where she's not just surrounded by so much work. She's on a little vacation, so that's why she's coming in to us from not from the inner portion of our living room. She's coming here from the screen. So before I could go any further, are there any more birthdays?
Well, Trish is going to have a new birthday.
Trisha's got her birthday.
Yeah.
Next Sunday.
Okay, well, happy birthday to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is your birthday song. It is very long. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, let's get started. Before I was saying I was going to do a prayer, but Janet already did. She did a prayer with a song, and so we're ready to go into her talk. So please welcome Reverend Janet Childs. Yay! Yes.
It is my honor to be here with each and every one of you. And I'm so touched that Reverend Dottie remembered my work with 9/11. And here is a candle that was given to me. And I'll only light it on special occasions. So you are very special, my friends. And it says, the new Twin Towers of New York City. And it has a firefighter and a police officer and a paramedic.
Good.
Oh, wait a minute, I see the police officer and I see where's the paramedic?
He's over yonder. It's hard to
Okay.
see.
I just didn't want to miss anything.
That's it. And when we worked with folks up there, they just are so humble.
You
I
can
mean-
move that whole sheriff.
Yeah. So I'm just going to light this for all of us because they represent our unsung heroes. There we go. I'm going to put it right over here. But just know that in many ways, Memorial Day is an opportunity for us, to stop, remember, and to also pray for peace. So when I was doing some work discovering about Memorial Day, our wonderful Corky, Reverend Corky, suggested, why don't you check out Purple Heart? And she just kind of said that. And I said, my dad got the Purple Heart and also the Bronze Star. But he said what was most important to him was the Purple Heart, because what it represented was sacrifice, and either wounded folks or folks that have died. You know, oh, thank you, Annie. And, you know, one of the things that we found, you know, with that is, so I would go with my dad, okay, and whenever he would give me a medal, whenever I behaved myself at the doctor's or the dentist's, okay, so that, and of course, being a kid, what did we do? I buried the medals, I lost them, you know, you know, you know, I mean, it's amazing to me how I took that for granted when I was very little. I had no idea of the significance of that. But the Purple Heart was actually started by George Washington.
Whoa! Wow! Mm-hmm. Well, you see, isn't he on the Purple Heart?
Yep. Yeah. It's the oldest military decoration. Originated in 1782, when General George Washington established the Badge of Military Merit. This award, a Purple Heart-shaped badge, was intended to honor soldiers for meritorious actions, particularly those in the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. The war, it was largely forgotten until its revival in 1932. Oh. And so I think it came about after World War I. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we were just, as we go into the 40s, we're getting into World War II. And it's so amazing because there were only 3 soldiers that received the original award. And so the modern award is awarded to service members who are wounded or killed while serving in the U.S. Armed Services, particularly against an enemy or in battle, you know, in active service. So it's just wonderful, and I just offer that. Isn't it beautiful that it's a Purple Heart?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, there was something so powerful about that. You know, and you know, just I'm so touched by it, and it's today, Purple Heart Day, is observed annually on August the 7th. Did you know that?
No.
I did not know that.
Did not know that.
I did not know that. No, I did not know that. And it commemorates the medal's establishment. The day serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made by military personnel who have been wounded or killed in the line of duty. This medal continues to be one of the most respected and recognized military decorations, symbolizing the courage and the dedication of those. You know, so I just want you to know, and how many of you, I mean, Reverend Dottie was talking about her dad, how many of you know people that have gotten a Purple Heart? Wow.
Yep, up.
There's a lot of you. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep.
Beautiful. That's incredible. Because I think it's something that, especially on Memorial Day, we need to honor. Because way back, we've done Memorial Days for soldiers, you know, and folks in the military since 431 BC.
Oh, come on.
The Peloponnesian Wars.
Wow.
That's when we started honoring.
That is...
Year after year, yes. Ancient Greeks and Romans hosted similar commemorations.
Incredible.
And by the late 1860s, many Americans had began hosting tributes to the war's falling soldiers by decorating their graves. Okay, what's the late 1860s? That's right after what?
Civil War.
Civil War, exactly. Decorating their graves with flowers, and it was called Decoration Day, because that was a tradition that we would do. We would call it, because you were literally decorating the graves. And I can remember when my dad died when I was 12, we would go on every Memorial Day and on every Veterans Day to Golden Gate Cemetery, and we would bring flowers, and we would bury little things. So don't tell anybody, but bury little things, little, you know, sometimes we'd bring little toys or little trinkets and we'd bury it, you know, with the flowers for my daddy. And the reason I bring that up is that the act of remembering is what Memorial Day is about. It's an action step, my friends. It's not just passive, you know. it's an action way where we can honor. And if you're honoring veterans today, you know, this is a good day to do it. But be very gentle with it when you do, because some of them have a hard time being thanked. And so be gentle, but be affirming and say, you know, thank you. You know, thank you, and we support you. I think that's so huge. And I just want to offer one of the first military Memorial Day celebrations in the United States was made by newly freed enslaved men, women, and children on May 1st, 1865 in Charleston, South Carolina.
Wow.
Not long after the Civil War ended, freed enslaved peoples, members of the U.S. colored troops, and some locals organized a ceremony to bury Union troops who had died due to horrendous conditions of a prison created on what was once a racetrack. They honored the dead by singing hymns and placing flowers on their graves. An archway over the cemetery was engraved with these words: Martyrs of the Race Course. Martyrs of the Race Course. Race course. So it was the course that they followed to free.
Wow. Like pathway.
To free the people. And I want to honor that, because what they did at that initial ceremony was absolutely a template for what we can do for Memorial Day. They actively got together in community. They actively created music, and they created flowers. They decorated the graves. They created that archway over the cemetery so that it would be forever remembered. There's an old saying that goes, I am alive as long as I am remembered.
Right.
I believe it comes from the Jewish tradition. I am alive as long as I am remembered. And so that is so powerful. What they gave us was a template for how we can honor Memorial Day. And then I want to talk a little bit about President Bill Clinton signed the National Moment of Remembrance Act in 2000, which asks Americans to pause and observe a national moment of remembrance at 3 p.m. on Memorial Day. So I want you all to stop whatever you're doing tomorrow, and on Memorial Day at 3 p.m., stop for that moment of remembrance and send your energy out to everybody you know.
I remember us doing that, and in that at church we would do it, and then there was the women. I don't know if it was Native American women that we would stand in a big circle and.
That's right.
And
absolutely.
Pray.
Absolutely. And then Memorial Day is one of the few days where the flags are ordered to fly at half-mast until noon, and then they're allowed to fly full staff. So afternoon on Memorial Day, they go back up to full staff. Wow. So it gives us a chance to do, there's so many action steps that we can do, you know. But that, I just love that one. Flag should be moved at half-mast. And then I want to talk about one other thing, because I thought it was so beautiful. You know, where is it? I got to find my piece of paper.
I've got a piece of paper. You want it? Oh, you're so helpful, Corky.
Yes. Okay. So, where are we at? Okay. So it changed from Decoration Day to Memorial Day. We're not quite sure. But it's so wonderful, because I want to ask, here it is. In 1950, this is what I was looking for. Congress passed a resolution requesting that the president issue a proclamation calling upon Americans to observe Memorial Day as a day of prayer for permanent peace.
Yay.
Prayer for permanent peace.
Well, let's make it work.
So I want us to hold that energy, right?
Right.
Prayer for permanent peace. There is such power, okay, in holding that energy. And each and every one of you holds it so beautifully, because when we open up our awareness and we open up our dimensions of what we have the power to do, that's what we have the power to do. Prayer for permanent peace. Okay? Prayer for permanent peace. And for all of those people that were courageous, in trying to keep peace, we can hold the prayer for permanent peace. So I love that focus for Memorial Day, to bring that permanent peace.
Right.
Right? And just the power of it is, this is what this community does all the time, every day, every hour, is you pray for that. You hold that energy of permanent peace. You bring that to your community. And I want to talk about the Heart Hotel, okay? Because Memorial Day is a chance for us to honor all of those people we know, calling upon our ancestors, okay, who have maybe fought in the Civil War, and probably, you may have known some ancestors that fought in the Revolutionary War, and those that fought into Good morning and happy Sunday, yay, for Maria. I just caught my eye. So I said, oh, good morning. And one of the things that I would just like to offer is that we can, by remembering, we can bring our ancestors forward. Even though they might not be with us in a bodily form, we can actually call them forth and honor them as we honor people who are still alive, that are in the military or in other responder services. So I kind of consider first responders a little bit like the military. They hold the safety for our community, they hold the safety for our world, and having worked with them for many, many, many years, I have learned how fragile it is for them, how they typically will underplay what they do. This is also true for folks in the military. And they will tend to discount it. And so this is our time to say, no, wait, we honor you. We honor you. We honor your daily service that you give to us so that we're safe and we're free. Right? So I want to ask a couple of questions. How many of you have a veteran in your family or in your friends? Okay. What's been your experience of Mother's Day? Memorial Day. What is your experience? What do normally you do for or with these folks? How do you remember them?
I used to be, when I was living in Lancaster, we'd go to the memorial. We'd go to the graveyard where my dad was buried and do a prayer. And that was something that we did before we moved. We've been up here now for 40 years, 50 years. But as a younger person, it was so beneficial to realize I was thanking somebody I didn't particularly get along with when they were alive, but I really respected the fact that they fought for our country.
That is a beautiful thing. What Reverend Dottie just talked about was separating out whether we got along with them or not and honoring their service, because it's a part of a greater energy. Beautiful. Yes. Beautiful. Anybody else? Kevin? Can you unmute, honey?
Yeah, there.
There we go.
I forgot where the button was. My great uncle died in the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
And from the time I was little, I can remember when we'd go to great grandma's house, there was a picture of a cemetery and then a smaller picture of a grave marker and his picture all kind of in a collage. And I was always fascinated by that. Didn't know who he was, of course. but I can even remember where it was hanging on the wall in great grandma's house. In 2005, I got an opportunity from work. I was asked if I'd like to go to Belgium to teach a class. And the first thing that popped into my head was whether I taught the class or not, it was possibly a chance to go try to find Uncle Emmett. And so I searched it out and managed to find my way to the American Cemetery. And so I took flags with me. He had a surviving son, and he was my mother's favorite, however that worked, cousin or however that worked. And so I took flags for everybody, and then put him on his marker and took pictures. And then when I got home, I was able to send them to everybody.
Wow.
And so every Memorial Day and Veterans Day, I take his flag that I had for myself and I put that up.
That's so thoughtful.
That's beautiful. Oh,
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Good job, Kevin.
Fantastic. Thank you.
it was an
Harley.
adventure.
It was.
Yeah,
And,
adventure.
and you called up, by doing that, Kevin, you called up your ancestors. This is the power of this, of what we're talking about right here. Arlene,
Okay.
unmute.
I found it. Okay.
Yeah, there we
Sorry.
go. Beautiful.
So, Kevin, thank you for that because you just reminded me. I was sitting here thinking, gosh, I know in general, there may have been a time as a child that we went to a cemetery, but it wasn't a regular thing. And yet I had lots of military members and veterans in the family. I think my dad always felt bad because he served stateside during World War II. He was really 4F, but he just bugged them until they let him in, and he became a drill instructor. But he never got into combat, and so I don't think he felt like he was a part of that. And yet he respected them. But what I wanted to mention just briefly is both of my sons are veterans of foreign wars. Both of them did multiple tours over in Afghanistan and Iraq, and all through our, actually, my oldest son goes back to the Balkans War. The Kosovo War was his first combat experience. And for a time in the early 2000s, I was living in Germany with my oldest son and his wife and their brand new baby daughter. And this was in Germany. He and his wife were both active in the Air Force and stationed in Ramstein, Germany. So I happened to be there over a Memorial Day with them. And it was the rare time when both he and his wife were off duty. And we drove with another service member to just across the border to Belgium, and toured the cemeteries for Memorial Day, and went through the American cemetery, and not looking for people in specific, of course, because I was there with veterans, but just honoring. And being struck. I just, the whole time I walked there, I could feel these people and the devotion coming up, and felt just deeply touched and felt myself in prayer all day. And then towards the end, they said, wait a minute, let's stop, because there were a couple of other little cemeteries off to the side. There was one just for Russian soldiers, and there was another one just for German soldiers. And even the Russian cemetery had been kept up, but the German cemetery had just been left in terrible shape. And it just broke my heart, because right or wrong in their convictions, the soldiers that were there because their country called them. And they felt like they were doing their service to their country. And so to all of those people, and the ancestors for sure are around today, all of them. But to all of those people, we want to remember and say, you may have been on the wrong side of the conflict, but you need to set that aside and honor what you died and were buried for.
Oh, that's wonderful, Arlene.
That's beautiful.
I wanna say something. When I was working for Hewlett Packard, and I was sent to Holland, the Netherlands, and I was working in Nijmegen, and I was, when you go over a bridge, they have a sign that has tanks on it, and sometimes it has 3 tanks, sometimes it has, and I was like, what the heck is that? So I asked somebody, and they said, oh, that's how many tanks the bridge could hold at a time. So it's it told the strength of the bridge, and so if it said 2 tanks and 3 tanks were on there, you were risking your life. Anyway, so but a bridge too far. When I came home, Dottie's husband Sam said, "Oh, we've got to watch the movie A Bridge Too Far," because that Nijmegen was the place that was too far, and so it had. I mean, if you watch that, you can see all. It was a. They were parachuting in because where I worked in Nijmegen, I could see the Rhine and I could see Germany, and so it was. And so in the bridge too far, there was parachuters, and so they did three cities, and by the time they got to Nijmegen, all the parachuters were dead. And so you look around, and there's all these. You'd be driving down the road, and there'd be cemetery. In this wooded area, there would be maybe 30 or 40 crosses, and they were 18, 19, 20. And from everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's anyway, very touching.
Absolutely.
May I say something?
Thank you, Corky. Please do.
Ruth is raising her hand too.
Yeah.
So, I was in ROTC in high school, and we had a colonel who was our teacher, and also a gunnery sergeant. And one of the things that they taught us was that Memorial Day was about remembering, because the veterans are the people who came back.
Right.
The people who didn't come back are not the veterans. So it's not Veterans Day where we say thank you to the people who came back. This is the time to be a little bit somber. Kind of like how, at funerals we have our food and we have the social aspect of a funeral, but there's a somber quality to it, a more gentleness to it, because we're remembering the people who didn't make it back.
That's right.
And we were told, you light a candle, you say a prayer, you take your moment of silence, and you have to come at it with a sort of respect and reverence, and not just turn it into a happy barbecue, because we say Happy Veterans Day. We don't say Happy Memorial Day, because it's not happy. It's melancholy and pensive, and it ought to be. And I think that it's important to remember that. And they said that that's why people who get told thank you for your service on Memorial Day are particularly uncomfortable, because to Memorial Day, it's not about the people who came back.
Well, I've never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Well,
Beautifully said.
These were the men who lost friends in the military, because they were career military men.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
those were the people who taught me.
Right.
Gunnery Sergeant Maloney and Colonel Rutherford were my teachers.
Yeah.
I remember Rutherford because it started with a Ruth.
So my friends, that's beautifully said, Ruth Renata. And I just want to honor what all of you have said. And Corky, the depth of your emotion, what all of you said. Arlene, Kevin, each of you has really, honored that it is somber, and then it can be the peace of being connected with our ancestors. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like the peace that we can have when we do have that somber moment and we do honor their sacrifice. It reminds us that we have their strength, because even though they physically died, we can call upon the strength of their spirit. And then we can use that to pray for peace. And that's what I love about when I was really digging deep. And that's a great, great movie. For Memorial Day, I recommend the movie Taking Chance. And so for each of you, however you can do that tomorrow, take a moment. Maybe it will be at 3 p.m. when we take that moment of silence and remembering. Or perhaps in your own heart, you can take that moment. And what we used to do when we went to my dad's grave, he was at the Golden Gate Cemetery, is we would clean up the other graves that were around him.
Yes,
because it's a military cemetery and not everybody always showed up for everybody, even on Memorial Day. And so we would go and get extra flowers and clean up some extra, do some extra cleanup. And I actually enjoyed doing that. It gave me an action step, a way I could honor those folks. And, my friends, one of the things that I'd like to ask is, for you to be impacted by it, you might not have directly known a family member in the military, but you've probably known friends. You've probably known associates, right? And so, again, it's, honoring, the war dead, but it also is, as Ruth Renata said, it's also an honoring of everyone that's in the military that could potentially have that chance of having their life threatened. So it's such a beautiful moment when we can honor that, and also honor our own feelings of grief, my friends. So often we're very hard on ourselves when it comes to our own grief process, whether it's grieving for what we never had with our family or grieving the fact that they've died, whatever that is, allowing our grief. And this is actually the holiday in our American culture that allows us to grieve. It allows us to grieve. So any other thoughts? I have a little song that I wrote for this day, but are there any other thoughts?
I just wanted to say that the thought just came to my mind is that like with the Germans, the civilians were victims too. I mean, they got
absolutely.
So, it's and some of it's like if we had war here, there'd be people that would be definitely against the war. But it's complicated. But that not every German is an enemy, for instance, right. Or Japanese or
right.
Russian or it just depends.
Yeah.
It's the government.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, Annie wanted to say something, so.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Well, I wasn't raised to honor Memorial Day, strangely enough. But as a teenager, I did a lot of volunteer work. I used to send packages and letters to soldiers in Vietnam. And I did receive a letter back from a wonderful guy who, it went into the newspaper and everything. And sadly, I don't think he made it home. So I of course, I don't remember his name. I was 13 years old, but I wanted to take a really quick second and honor somebody from 9/11. His name was Bill Weems.
Yes.
I went to high school with him. Wow. He was that first hero that did his best to save that plane that day, and he was killed in 9/11. So this is my opportunity as an adult to give to something that I never understood really because it wasn't explained to me, or that wasn't given to me as a kid.
And I really honor that, Anne. That's so beautifully said, because when we honor the individual names, there is great power in that. When we say the individual names of the people, that calls them forth. That calls them forth. And you know, there's a tradition where on Memorial Day, the president leaves a wreath on the unknown shoulder, on the unknown soldier at Arlington Cemetery. And it's that honoring, okay, that allows us to reclaim our connection and to also say thank you, you know, to anyone that is involved in war or conflict. They have probably given the ultimate sacrifice if they've died, whether they're a civilian or military. So giving yourself that chance. And if you are in the military or you have family members or friends in the military, I encourage you to reach out. Arlene, you have something.
Just another quick thought, and that is Ruth spoke to the fact that this is not the day to remember other people. And Janet, you spoke to the fact that when you do that, you should do it gently anyway. I would really encourage not thanking people for their service today, because we have among us now in our country so many service members, men and women, that have come back from conflicts, and so many of them are so stressed today.
Yes.
Because they have lost people, battle brothers and sisters, and they have witnessed horrible things. And this is a day when they are in remembrance for the buddies and the people that they've lost. So it almost inspires anger to have somebody say, well, thank you for your service, because they want to scream at you. That's not what this is about. This is about Jake. This is about Joni. This is about the people I lost.
Yeah.
And, you know, so just a caution to add to all of that. Sorry.
So, no, that's so beautiful, Arlene, because that fits right in with what I was going to say. Instead of thank you for your service, you can say my heart goes out to you. And sometimes if I know the person, you know, that's been in the military, I say, can you give me the names of those you miss? And we'll light a candle together.
That's nice. Mm-hmm. That's nice.
Give me the names of the people you miss, whether it was 50 or 100 years ago or whether it was last week. You know, and that gives them a chance to honor what's in their heart hotel. And for those of you that are not familiar with that terminology, it's something that came from one of my clients who said, my heart's like a hotel and everybody I love has a room in my heart hotel. And when they die, they never lose their room in my heart hotel. So it's inviting them to have a moment where they could have perhaps some safety. But doing it gently and letting them know that you know that they're probably grieving and missing some folks. Absolutely. This has just been incredible, my friends. And I'm going to, if I can, just sing you a song. It's a song that just came to me. I wrote it down, so I wanted to honor it and sing it for all of you. This is my song to you. You have a hero heart on the brink of life. You open up your hand and you dance the hope alive. Side by side and dream by dream, you reach into the world. And it sings to you and it brings to you the truth of who you are. You are the hero heart. Keep being yourself. You are just exactly what we need to heal the world. Be who you are to be. Through the trials and the pain, you rise again You are the hero heart.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Janet, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your talk. That was a great talk. And talking about the difference between Veterans Day and tomorrow, is so important because he puts it in a whole different way of looking at it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And now is it time to pass the basket. Ruth, can you do that?
Yes,
So I'll read some of the things that people have said. Okay, let's see. Go back to Dottie.
Here, Ruth is going to do it.
Pin Dottie. Okay, there you go. So, since I'm maybe anyway. So this is interesting about making. This is from Stephen. He says this is interesting about making things for others. I am feeling that our crisis is less a crisis of freedom than a crisis of selfishness. What that could be. Anyway, Eileen says hello. That's West Coast. Stephen says thank you, Janet. Annie says thank you for the beautiful song and prayers, Janet. P&J says, Patty and Joyce say thank you, Janet, for the beautiful song. Your songs always soothe and inspire me, or us. We are so grateful for that. And then Donna Christian says, happy birthday, Tricia. And then we got it.
Thank you.
And Annie says, I remember seeing you, Janet, on the news for 9/11. It brought a lot of comfort to all of us. And then it says, you said, yes, this is being, so I'm, to Donna Christensen, I think, didn't you ask if this was being recorded? Anyway, it's recorded. Yay! And then Marie and Milan was good morning, happy Sunday from Maria and Milan. And Donna Christian says, thank you, Arlene. That was very moving. And Donnie and Kevin said, Memorial Day, I recommend the movie Taking Chance with Kevin Bacon. Okay, and thank you, Arlene. This is from Stephen. He said, thank you, Arlene, for my sister has PTSD from the Desert Storm. And Gina Lyon says, beautifully inspiring talk, Janet. And Patty and Joyce says, beautiful talk, Janet. Thank you so much. Sky says, I love you, Mama Boone. And Donna Christensen says, thank you, Janet. I love the song.
Thank you all very much for listening in and watching us and saying something online. Really do appreciate it. It's great.
And to you new people, I thank you so much for showing up. And if you want to receive the CCL Insights, leave your email in the chat, and you'll receive weekly
notifications of what's going on.
About what's going on and what's coming up. And so I keep the chat, so you can put it on there, and then I'll gather it when it gets downloaded.
Also, can I?
Ruth.
Also, really quick, next month I'm teaching Reiki classes online and also some tarot classes online. So if you're interested in that, you can also leave your email in the chat for Corky to give me your email addresses for that.
Great, perfect. Okay.
That's great.
Oh, can I say something?
Yes.
So we often think of men as veterans, but there's a book out recently on the bestseller list called The Women, and it documents or tells the story of a young woman who served as a nurse, an army nurse during Vietnam, and some of the horrific things that went on during that period and how they got through it. And if you would like to read something about women in the service, that's a great book to read.
Thank you
for sharing.
The Women.
That's not the one about the 800 women, the black women?
No.
No,
Different war.
Yeah. There's a great movie about the black women that served.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what,
that is a great movie. What you're
The
talking about is so
5 by 5 or
powerful.
something like that.
Yeah. So we have actually held support groups at the Center for Living with Dying for specifically women veterans, because a lot of times they didn't get the necessarily get the information,
when
or
she
get the
went,
validation. Yeah.
when she went to the VA to get help because she obviously had PTSD, she was told there were no women in Vietnam, so you
Oh.
couldn't have been there.
Oh my gosh.
See,
Yeah.
I've worked with many nurses from Vietnam, from the Vietnam War. They saw more probably carnage for one person than even some of the folks that were.
And folks, I'm going to have to put an end to today. I want to thank you all so very much for being a part of our
Wonderful service. Thank you.
service.
Everyone
Thank you so much,
involved.
Janet. Thank you, everybody else that came in to help us. And we're going to be here next week. Who's going to be next week?
You.
I'm going to be
Matter of
next
fact,
week.
you're going to be talking about, I know Creator hears my prayers.
Okay. I can hardly wait to find out what I'm going to say. That's great. So tune in to us next week. If you want to talk to us, give us a call. If you want to just let us know howdy. We love hearing from you. It's great. So thank you so very much for being part of
Thank
the
you.
congregation this morning. And thank you to the people who made it here. And have a great week.
And
Thank
And don't forget the Psychic Fair, which is coming up on June.
June 22nd.
June
I think,
22nd.
yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
we'll
Okay.
have a
All
CCL
right.
table.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Love
Bye
you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.